why do we miss someone who treated us so badly? That's the number one question survivors ask themselves.
Right, and that's what we're going to talk about in this episode, and we're going to learn steps to move past it.
Hey, we're John and Melissa, and we're both narcissistic abuse survivors, and we're discussing why do we miss someone who treated us so horribly.
Right. So let's start with Melissa. Her narcissist was a total monster. You guys, it's hard to explain because I knew what she went through. She was abused physically, mentally, financially, really bad financially, and spiritually. So what made you stay?
You know, it's awful because it's why do we stay? Right. We know how horribly they treat us. Why do we go back if we leave? And when we finally leave, why do we still miss them?
Right.
We think something's wrong with us. It's honestly, it is trauma bonding. It's what your brain does to survive. And unfortunately, people that go through these types of abusive relationships, it's not 100% bad. It's mostly bad. But there are glimpses of kindness, even if it's false kindness, love, even if it's love bombing, attention, even if it's false attention, just acting like they care in public.
Right.
Your brain doesn't know the difference. So you are in love with this person. You fell in love with who you thought that they were. So your brain goes into this survival mechanism of what's called trauma bonding, which is addicted to the kindness, even if it's fake, the love, even if it was not real. Your brain doesn't know the difference. And this cycle keeps people questioning their reality. It's like, well, was it that bad? Were they that horrible? When you think about, when you've had some distance between yourself and that abusive relationship,
right. It's amazing how the brain allows us to forget pain.
Absolutely.
I mean, over time, especially if we're not keeping track of things, we're not journaling the abuse, we forget the pain we went through. That's just the way our brains work.
Well, it's survival. It's a survival mechanism. And that little ounce of happiness or relief you got from the pain, it's like a hit of dopamine. And so the brain doesn't know how to react except gravitate to something that's going to be relief instead of pain. Now, I know you went back, and I don't think it was out of you being so trauma bonded, but it could have been more of an addiction physically, because men have, you know.
She could make me regret just about anything. I mean, she would cry at the drop of a hat. And so I would get a couple of weeks away from her, and all of a sudden we'd run into each other again, ironically. And then she would approach me, or we would talk, or hey, we need to meet about some things. And she would start crying and how miserable she is and how much she misses me. And I would start thinking, you know, maybe it wasn't that bad because been some time had gone by. Maybe I should give it another chance. She's making promises. She's telling me it's going to be different.
It's things you want to hear.
And things I want to hear. Yep.
Yeah. And so it can go both ways.
Right.
And with someone who treats you terribly and does such vicious things to you, until you start working on ways to break that bond, and it's you can't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden you don't miss them anymore, or you don't wish something would have been different and somehow you could have fixed it, or what if you'd have waited longer or stayed longer or tried harder. We go through these cycles of what if, and it keeps us trapped.
Right.
What most people don't understand is letting go of someone that you truly loved in your heart. You loved this person. It doesn't matter if they were never that person. It doesn't matter if they wore the mask and then the mask came off and they're the monster underneath. You fell in love with this person. That person is no longer there. They never really were that person, but your brain doesn't know that. Your brain has to go through a grieving process, and people don't understand. You grieve someone who's still alive, because I mentioned this to one of my clients, and it was a man, and he said, but she's still alive. So what am I grieving? I said, you're grieving the person you fell in love with, because that is not the person you're no longer with. When we finally break free, we realize that person was a monster and horrible to us, and they were nothing like someone we would have fallen in love with had they showed their true colors from the beginning. So going through the grieving process, the first part of grief is denial.
Let's talk about that. Let's talk about, so if we start to comprehend that it is grief that we're feeling, how do we deal with that? What are the steps of the grief that we would go through in this situation?
Well, and one thing, if you don't go through them, then you will fester these feelings. You'll keep beating yourself up. You'll keep second guessing yourself. You'll keep doubting your decisions. And that's a way to stay vulnerable. It's a way for them to show up in your life. And all of a sudden, maybe it wasn't so bad because you weren't healed. But
how many times have we said that?
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't so bad.
Yeah.
And it makes us go back. And
yes.
so I love this where we can start to understand what it is that we're going through, and that there are steps to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote this book. It's called Grieving the Narcissist. It's mourning the love you thought was real. The first phase of grief is denial. You just really can't believe you're either in this situation. You can't believe they did that. You can't believe the relationship is over. You're in total disbelief. Then you start bargaining, whether it's bargaining with yourself. Maybe I was too difficult. Maybe it is me. Maybe if I try harder. Maybe if I'm not so jealous. Maybe if I just stay quiet. Maybe if I keep the peace. So you start bargaining.
Or do more work. Or try. Yeah.
Yes, try harder. Do better. Don't say anything. You're bargaining with this situation so you won't lose this person. You won't lose this relationship. So you're now bargaining and trying to fix things. Then you go through an anger period where you are angry because they took so many years of your life. You're angry because you put up with it. You're angry because you feel shame because of what they put you through. And you
lost so much money.
You lost so much money. And you allowed it somehow. So you're angry at yourself. You're angry at them for putting you through it. So that anger phase sometimes makes you feel like, okay, well, if I'm angry, then I'm stronger. That is a phase, obviously. So being angry about something doesn't mean that you're being petty. It means you're going through a phase. Then you're going to go through what could possibly feel like depression. So after you get through the anger, then it's almost like you don't have that supercharge anymore. So then you go through this very depressing, lonely feeling. And generally that is when you are gone, when you've left them and you're alone and you're waiting to feel relief. You're waiting to feel, oh, thank goodness I'm away from that person. But that doesn't come automatically. And so you wait for it. And you just kind of sink into this loneliness.
And there's a question that you ask yourself a lot. I think, I know I ask myself a lot, am I going to find someone better? Am I going to find somebody at all? Am I going to spend the rest of my life lonely and single? I mean,
and that's a valid question because we're humans. We're meant to be, companions. So when you think about, well, maybe that's better than being alone. I can promise you it's not. Once you go through the processes of these things, and John and I know because we're on the other end. So we've gone through these phases. We've processed them. And we're able to now look back in and realize the loneliness that you feel when you're going through this part of the grieving process is just an emptiness because you feel that something's been ripped from you and that you're a half of a person. It's only because you're wounded. Your body is trying to heal. Your nervous system's messed up. Everything's trying to heal. So going through this depression of feeling sad, lonely, you miss them, questioning whether it's was that bad or not, will lead you to acceptance. And acceptance is the final stage of grief. It's accepting what it was and accepting that you made a decision that was safe for you, that was better for you. There comes a time in an abusive relationship when you have to choose yourself. You do, because they will never choose you. They will always choose against you. They will choose other than you. So when you finally get to the acceptance part of a relationship break, that's when you can actually take a breath and realize what happened to you was not something you caused. It wasn't something that you should be ashamed of. It wasn't something you brought on yourself. It doesn't matter how many times you went back. It doesn't matter how long you stayed. What matters in the end is that you let it go and you are on your way to healing and recovery. And that's something that
let's talk
we're
about
so passionate about.
Yeah, we are. And we're going to give you some steps here in just a minute. But how long can someone stay in these phases? How long does
you
it
can
typically
bounce back
last?
and forth to them.
Right.
You can actually bounce back and forth. So it's something you want to give yourself a break on, and don't try to rush it. Don't try to slam yourself through these phases. Just know that these feelings are normal. These phases are normal. This is what you're going to feel. If you feel like you're stuck in one of these phases, except being in the acceptance phase, which is the other side where you can actually see the light, then I strongly recommend either setting up a coaching session with me. I help so many of my clients get through that feeling of being stuck onto the next level, because sometimes you do need just to talk to somebody who lived through it and you can see the other side. Or get the book. You can read it for free on Kindle. Well, John always puts the links
it's on Amazon.
below.
We'll put the link below.
Yeah.
So let's talk about just one action item that someone could take right now to start moving themselves through these phases.
Well, analyzing what phase that you're in. If you are still in the phase of missing the abuser, then you are still in the denial stage, denying what actually happened. And John mentioned earlier journaling. Journaling saved me, to be honest with you, because sometimes a lot of times our brain plays tricks on us. But writing things down, I have all of the books that I write have action steps in them. They've got workbooks, they've got journals, they've got reflection worksheets, because writing things down rather than fighting with yourself in your brain, you're actually getting thoughts from here onto paper. Because when you're with an abusive person, or when you were with an abusive person, they didn't let you talk. They didn't let you get your feelings out. They didn't let you share how you feel about certain things. They cut you off. They interrupted you. They told you were crazy, wrong, making it up, imagining it, all these things. And all you're trying to do is get your words out. So if you don't have someone that you can talk to, then I strongly urge that you start writing things down as they come up.
I know it would have helped me so much, because if I would have written down all the horrible things that she did, I would have never gone back. And so I think journaling is key for that, to help us get through these phases and get out to the other side as quickly as possible.
And start writing down things that you're feeling. Because when we wake up every morning, we've got feelings that are going on in our head, in our mind. Writing them down, even if you just write one word, angry, sad, lonely, and then start writing just a few statements about each one of those feelings. Purging them from your body, it helps, we promise. And I know we unpacked a bit today about why people feel this way, why they feel bad for their abusers. But hopefully some of the things that we said resonated with you. You can always check out our resources. We always put the links below. We'd love to hear your comments.
Yeah, please, if you have any comments about this video or questions, please enter them below. And we're in the comments every day. So if you have any more questions or are having some difficulties, just put them in the comments below. And if you found a benefit from this podcast, we'd love for you to like this and subscribe to this channel, because every week we have new podcasts coming up with new topics. Also, I would love to hear from you about a topic that you would love for us to cover in an upcoming podcast.
Or any of the phases that you're in right now. Right. If you feel you're stuck, let us know in the comments, and we'll be happy to give you something to get you to the next step so you're not stuck anymore.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for tuning in. We appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Right.